Ladies and gentlemen.
Giggity. All right.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
I'm Batman. Gotham is never safe without me. What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. Okay. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You can attach towers? Shut up. Impromptu performance this evening, which I must say was indeed a welcome distraction. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're very kind.
This is gonna be funny.
Hello. Good evening. Welcome. Hi. How are you? Good to see you. Good to be here. Good to be seen. All the things. I miss not reading to you on Sunday, but you know, Easter and all that. A little bit of family time. It was nice. It was nice. Hello, B12. Noise. Thanks, Johnny. Hey, it's fine. Silent Johnny B12. Hello. You need the I'm Batman clip? Why? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Oh. That's weird. Why did the Johnny thing not play? That doesn't make any sense.
Hey, who's that handsome guy?
Hey, who's that handsome guy? It's glorious, and I say it all the time. Okay, I will see if I can hook you up, ma'am. I just, I went on the defensive because I assumed you were going to use it for fictitious purposes. But you would never do that, so I don't even know why I'm worried. Yeah, so welcome in. I'm looking for it right now, actually. Trying to see if I can figure it out quickly or if I have to do some digging. I might have to do some digging. I don't know. Yeah. Because I have a bunch of clips, but they're not labeled at the moment. Yeah. But send me a DM, and that way I don't forget, please. Otherwise I will. Psh, never? Okay. Try saying that, but try to pitch your voice like Elvis Presley, and it'll sound better. Oh, the Johnny Bravo thing? Yeah. I haven't watched Johnny Bravo in years. And I mean, so many years. Gosh. Those were the days. You could say whatever and not get in trouble because it was okay, when it really wasn't okay. It's just that people didn't get on people's asses about it. It aged horribly. Jokes are questionable. Yeah. That's for sure. Anyway, moving on with our lives. Very excited to read to you tonight. Like I said, I missed doing it on Sunday. It felt weird, but it was, it was nice too, because spending time with family is always a good thing. But But there's a rhythm, there's a pattern, and there's a puzzle that I haven't joined yet, which B12 is already smashing to pieces. But there's your puzzle. I was gonna look for something like Italy based or whatever, but gosh darn it, that little hobbit hole of a house, it's just too adorable. And Johnny, big shout out to you, sir. Because of you boasting about me to your buddy Mercy, I'm now employed by him, and I feel fantastic about that. And I can't wait to get started. We did a lot of chatting in Discord, and he's gonna send me an official "you've been hired," thing. But yeah, it's coming together, and it's thanks to you. So thank you, seriously. No, a big shout out to you. I'm beyond excited. I am as well. I really am. He's such a good dude, and honestly, I think you guys are gonna be great together. Yeah, I can tell. Like, there's some people that I chat with for work-related stuff, and you can tell it's gonna be either, a struggle uphill the whole way, whatever. But with this guy, it just seemed very natural, like we both wanted the same result, kind of thing. So yeah, that's been great. GG's on the job. You're a good man. Yes, he is, and thank you. Yeah, he did. He just kept talking about me, and I was like, shut up. This is your stream, not mine. But yes, I very much appreciated it, and obviously it's worked out, so thank you. I owe you. I already know my tea's gonna be way too hot, but that first couple of sips, it just gets you. Just don't spill it, seriously. Stream would be canceled as I burn myself. So Johnny, you may have noticed this spin wheel right here. I've stolen your spin wheel because I loved it so much, and made a few alterations, but this is now my new workout wheel. So instead of doing the other one, because you'll notice above my head there's no like squats this many, blah blah blah. We're just gonna do them as they happen. No more delays. We're gonna do them. And I've added a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but I've added some variations to make it more interesting. So that'll be fun. Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry. So good to see you, Mama. How are ya? Long time no talk. That's because we talked earlier. She slid into my DMs. Ugh. And right now she's saying, oh, good grief. I just can't with you. Pretty much, yep, see? I knew it. All right. Let's see, was there anything else I needed to announce? Oh, where's my calendar? Hold on. I have to check the dates. Let's see, we've got today, 24th, Sunday the 27th, and Tuesday the 29th. So those are the only dates left until the gift card bumps up for the next month. So just as a reminder, the $25 gift card that you could win with the wheel spins, now is not the time to win that. And this is not reverse psychology, okay? And hello, Mad Locust, by the way. Hello. This is not reverse psychology, because when we get to May, if no one's...
Hi, we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
We have. It's about to expire. I know you just got the car, but it's expiring. If nobody wins the gift card this month, in May, it will double from 25 to 50. So, in reality, you don't want to win it at the end of the month because you're that much closer to it doubling and going to 50 in May. I'm just saying. So, I thought a spider was moving on my screen, but it was just a dark puzzle piece. Oh, mad. Please tell me you smacked your screen. Please. Please tell me that. Because that would be hilarious. No? Oh, damn. Oh, well, that's fine. All right, let's move to the reading screen. Okay. For our marble races, excuse me, I've sprinkled in some lap races with some non-lap races. I don't know what you would call those technically. But when we get to a lap race, I'm going to make the laps a little bit longer to kind of even it out. So, let's... Yep, see, the first one is not a lap race. It's just start to finish, you know, hope it works out for you kind of thing. So, exclamation point play to play. But someone did post a picture in Discord that looked like a tiny spider crawling on your screen. Oh, wow. That's funny. Get it! All of a sudden, everyone's buying new monitors. Weird. All right. I will start the 60-second timer. Thank you for being here, everybody. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to read to you tonight. We're on chapter 27, page 163. This is from Robert Barrett's perspective. He is our antagonist. He is not the nice guy. Based off of what we're hearing about this guy, he's like really bad. Not just bad, but like the worst of the worst. Kind of bad. The chapter title is Les Opportunistes. In other words, the opportunist. So, I'm gonna see if in this race it's gonna let me, like, just, no, don't follow me. Let's follow B12. Cool. All right. Here we go. Page 163. Thank you for being here. Please sit back, relax, and I will read you a story. After I met with Connie and the boy, I entered the kitchen and poured a glass of water from the pitcher. I would have preferred a drop of something more substantial, but I needed a clear head to keep my wits about me. There was too much at stake to falter now. Seeing the boy had unnerved me slightly. He was a few years younger than my son would have been had he lived. Nico was a replica of his father, all right, with the same piercing eyes, although the boys were blue, tall, dark-haired, handsome, and smart as a whip, just like his famous father. I was impressed by how he stood up to me during our meeting, and at such a tender age. I wondered if Nico Sapori knew his father's real identity. So I decided not to broach the subject because it would likely all come out in the wash. And I figured the boy had suffered enough already. I wouldn't be the one to shatter his dreams. Sipping from my glass, I gazed out of the kitchen window, pursuing the acres of open fields dotted with thoroughbred horses, all bred and descended from the finest lineage. Thanks to my friend Ludovico Galli, who was more of an acquaintance, I was appointed temporary manager of his prestigious racing stables for 2 months. This new position fitted my plans perfectly. It helped me get closer to achieving the funds and backing needed for my new business venture, while Mama House Gaming won the first race. I mean, while simultaneously bringing down my enemies, Sherlock Holmes and Angelino. My throat feels all kinds of groggy right now. Well done, winning your first race, madam. Cheers to that. Okay, so this is a lap race. And we're going to bump it up, as I mentioned. Exclamation point play to play. Play to play. Oh, and 60 seconds on the clock. Get your balls in there. Get him in there. Ludovico Galli, 56, was a widower with an only child. When his wife of 25...
Honk,
Noise,
honk,
noise,
honk,
noise,
honk.
Hi, Gemma. Thank you for the 17 months. Oh, hi. Thank you so much. Let me put my bookmark in here so I don't lose where I'm at. Quick, get in the race. I'm gonna spin our new wheel to find out what I'm gonna do.
No weight squats X5.
Okay. No weighted squats. 5 of them. And I'm going to do them right now. Thank you. That was super kind. Are you ready? The wheel says, page 92. Gosh darn it. You're so close. Thank you, Gemma. Thank you, thank you. When his wife of 25 years, Alicia, died in a riding accident 4 years ago, Ludovico was inconsolable. Alicia had been a wealthy woman in her own right, and the money Ludovico inherited and the life insurance payment ensured he would have no financial worries for the rest of his life. Ludovico, understandably sinking into a deep depression after Alicia's demise, lost interest in the day-to-day running of his business. Then, one day, he read in one of the horse racing journals about a forthcoming auction of the ailing Milano Prestige stables in Lombardy. Deciding that a project and a new direction in life were needed to pull him out of his melancholy, Ludovico submitted a cheeky bid for the premises and subsequently took over the stables, changing the name to San Sior Sudiceria di Cavalier de Corsa. Wow, that's a bloody mouthful. Good grief. Ludovico gradually built it up, first as a livery stable, and later taking out a trainer license. The business flourished until it became the successful stable it was today. Hello, music. Bonjour. Nope, I don't want you to play the same song. I want you to play the next song. I'm so confused. What is happening right now? You know what, we're just gonna refresh this because I think it's borked. That was so weird. Let's expand you out. Make sure we can see all of our music. You know, the biggest problem I've had with setting up stream stuff hasn't been puzzles or games. It's always been the music. Why? Okay, moving on. Ludovico, a fellow Mason, frequented the same Italian lodge as his friend Alberto Patrice, who recently returned from a business trip to Maryland, USA. Over dinner at his club, Alberto heard Sam Perkins, the original arranger of the inaugural Walden Stakes, would be unable to fulfill his duties in starting and completing the preparation of his prestigious race, which was to be held at the Pimlico Racecourse in Baltimore, Maryland. The event was named in honor of Maryland-based trainer and owner Wyndham Walden, affectionately known as Wink. Three weeks before the race, Perkins suffered a heavy fall from a ladder and was admitted to the hospital with a slipped disc. The doctors diagnosed treatment would take around a month before Perkins was back on his feet, meaning he would be temporarily out of action and unable to resume his duties in Baltimore. Alberto immediately thought of Ludovico Galli, realizing he would be the perfect candidate to replace him. Upon returning to Milan, Alberto contacted Ludovico to outline the situation and his proposal. He said that if Ludovico wanted the short-term position, then the job was as good as his. Realizing the job would only enhance his already successful career, Ludovico, I cannot say that word, jumped at the chance, telling Alberto he considered the offer an honor. He knew if he could pull this off, it would only boost his reputation in the USA. Subsequently, Ludovico signed a contract accepting the 2-month post, with an option to extend if required. He was expected to start work at the beginning of June. In the meantime, Ludovico needed someone to take over his Milan stables for the interim period. I was surprised, but delighted to discover Alberto recommended me as an ideal candidate. Apart from overseeing the horses on the morning gallops, I kept a low profile at the stables, using Peppo as a go-between, odd job man, and stable hand so I could stay in contact with Connie. I continued to use hotels throughout the city, adopting various names and disguises from my meetings with Rodriguez, Connie, and Hildegard Aiken, so as not to draw suspicion. I raised my glass, toasting my good fortune in gleeful anticipation and the knowledge that everything was at last falling into place. Or was it? It is for Gemma, though. Look at that winner. Good job. Moving on to Coils of Power. Ah, yes. Another not race. Well, it's still a race. It's just not a lap race. Like I said, I've sprinkled some of these non-lap races in just for the fun of it. "60 seconds on the clock. Good luck." And that brings us to a sip of tea and chapter 28. Maybe 2 sips. Scrumptious. Absolutely wonderful. Oh my, bless. Chapter 28 is from Sherlock Holmes' perspective. La Confession. The Confession. Should be interesting. Here we go. Oh, actually, let's do that. I forgot to keep an eye on the ads countdown to make sure we don't read any of them. Oh, look at you sparkling. All right, here we go. A wet, drizzly morning descended with rumbles of Tuscan thunder as I pulled back the blinds, reminding me of a line from Tennyson's In Memoriam, AHH, that my son often recited. He is not here but far away. The noise of life begins again, and ghostly through the drizzling rain, on the bald street breaks the blank day. I have no idea what that actually means. Nope. But I'm sure it's amazing. I wiped a tear from my eye as I donned my hat and coat. I couldn't allow such thoughts to bring me down. Well, that was a... Wait, did everyone get kicked out? Yep, none of us finished. Okay. Well, that was a quick one. It's about loss. Yeah, the rain part, and hi Katie. The rain part definitely gave me a negative vibe, but what do you mean, what kind of a game am I running here? That's what she said? Yeah. When I do laundry, that's how it goes, B12. She says, that was a quick one. I must put sorrow and grief aside and concentrate on the task ahead. Alerted to the sound of horses approaching, I saluted Romano and his men, steadfast and punctual as ever. Steadfast and punctual as ever, as they pulled up in a carriage at precisely 10:30 a.m. The Tuscan skies had predictably swept to a clear Mediterranean blue as I made my way outside and jumped into the hansom. With the crack of the coachman's whip, we embarked on our journey to the cursed house to meet the unsuspecting agent. The inspector confirmed he had messaged the rental company ahead, insisting that Abati meet us at 11 a.m., although not revealing two undercover polizia already had 11 Vecchio Signo under surveillance. When our carriage pulled outside the property, Abati stood waiting for us, pacing up and down in agitation like a caged lion, wiping sweat from his brow as he saw us approach. Romano waved his badge and explained we'd come to search the house after someone came forward to help with our inquiries. Abati hesitated before opening the door, standing motionless in the hallway like a statue as the guardie went upstairs to check the bedrooms and bathroom. At the same time, Romano and I concentrated on the ground floor accommodation, searching every room. Finding no clues in the house, we went outside to the shed, which was no different from my last inspection, except for a stack of boxes, brown paper, and gummed paper tape lying on a shelf. Opening the panel in the wall, I pulled out the large brass box, which had been empty at my last inspection, but now contained two sizable brown paper parcels. Night, Marjorie. Hi there. Whatever is in these parcels doesn't look like drugs, Romano said in an exasperated tone. Romano and his men were used to discovering drugs and contraband concealed in hollowed books, bottomed containers, and secret compartments in furniture, not parceled up in neat packages ready to post. No, indeed, I replied, carefully opening one of the packages. But if my deduction is correct, Inspector, then what we have here is just as valuable, perhaps even more so if you're a Russian citizen terrified of contracting a deadly disease. I need more tea. It soothes the soul, you know? Romano shrugged, looking on bemusedly as I opened the box beneath the brown paper to reveal several vials of liquid and syringes. For some people, the word cholera signified the highest kind of fear. It was a disease that did not discriminate. Symptoms included diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting, leading to a quick and agonizing death. But to Rodriguez and his gang of reprobates, it meant a sack full of Russian rubles. The last cholera epidemic in Russia occurred in 1904. However, fears of further outbreaks of this dreadful disease were rife due to poverty, poor sanitation, turmoil, and the influx of immigrants flooding into the country, which was constant, with current sporadic cases building up in southern Russia. Although a vaccine was available to prevent contracting the disease, such mass vaccination programs were not commonplace. The available ones were generally taken up by the unscrupulous and the prosperous. As I explained to Romano, following the creation of a new political order in April 1906, with Tazar confirmed as an absolute leader, Rodriguez and his cronies using Abati as a foil, saw a potential market for supplies of the vaccine to the privileged few who were able to pay. The world-famous composer Tchaikovsky, whose works included the ballet Swan Lake and the famous 1812 overture, succumbed to the disease on November 2nd, 1893, after drinking a glass of unboiled water.
I'm lurking now.
Thank you for the lurk, Alan. Pleasure to see you. A young Guardia entered the shed to speak to Romano, He explained that after being tipped off by the surveillance team, he and his colleagues searched Abati's brougham and found 20 more parcels the agent concealed in the back of the carriage, covered by a dust sheet. Having arrived at the property just after 10 a.m., Abati hoped to remove the evidence before we arrived, unaware that the Milano Polizia were monitoring his every move. Romano and I stepped back into the house to confront Abati, who looked shaken and close to tears after we informed him of our findings. Romano told the traumatized agent he would be looking at a lengthy sentence if he wasn't prepared to assist with our inquiries. Furthermore, he would face a tough time in prison once other inmates became aware of his sexuality. "Why would you keep your secret if you don't tell us what you know?" Romano said. The agent, visibly shaking, agreed to comply with the inspector's request and told us everything. Abati's eyes fixed on the inspector's somber face, acutely aware that his future lay in Romano's hands. Hans? Romano's hands. Hans. Yes. Indeed. Abati told us he was singled out as a potential target after his clandestine encounters in the park were spotted by one of Emilio's henchmen, who wasted no time in alerting his boss of Abati's sexual tendencies. Knowing the agent's activities would bring shame and embarrassment to his friends, family, and employer. Emilio targeted the hapless Abati, confronting him at a club and threatening to expose him if he didn't do as he had asked. Backed into a corner, Abati had no choice but to comply. At first, he was given a few drugs to hide, primarily cocaine and heroin. Not wanting them about his person, Abati decided to store them at the haunted house, confident that his hiding place would be secure. He returned to the house several times at night with the dog he bought for protection, training it to howl on demand. Abati rattled the chains, making ungodly noises to unnerve the neighbors and stopping people from becoming curious about the premises. The house became the perfect hiding place, often used as a bolt hole by Rodriguez's agents. Then Abati told us Rodriguez's stipulations became more demanding. He was ordered to store several boxes at the house. His job was to wrap and label them securely until a courier, usually one of Rodriguez's henchmen, came to collect them. "Did you ever wonder what was in the packages?" Romano inquired. Abati shook his head. At first, Inspector, I had no idea, and that's by design. You see, I didn't want to know. It was more than my life's worth to cross Rodriguez and his gang. I was also fearful for my job, my livelihood, and my reputation, and I couldn't handle jail. I've heard what happens to the likes of me in such places. But then, Emilio couldn't help but brag over a drink one night. He revealed what the packages contained, dragging me further into his web of deceit. I heard the devil whispering in my ear. Abati stared at us wide-eyed. "What will happen to me now?" he asked, removing a silk handkerchief from his jacket pocket and wiping his nose. "My mouse gaming. Whoop. Well done. You're a wiener?" Might want to tell a doctor. 60 seconds on the clock. Good luck. "You'll likely receive a jail sentence," Romano said. "There is nothing I can do about that.
However, if you continue to tell us everything, your cooperation will be considered at your trial and looked upon more favorably by the judge. I will personally sign an affidavit confirming you are complicit in helping us with our inquiries. There will be no mention of your sexual orientation. And if I don't, what then? Romano shook his head. Then you must enlist in the ranks of deviancy and take your chances. I can only imagine the consequences. Yes, indeed. Good luck, racers. Abati nodded resignedly. All right, Inspector. I'll tell you everything. But can we do it somewhere else, away from here? As I fear we are being watched. Excuse me. Romano agreed to Abati's request and read him his rights before instructing the Guardi to return the contraband packages to the station. Instead of following the Guardi, Romano agreed to my suggestion. We took a little detour off the beaten track to a small, secluded cafe, which served the best coffee in Milan, and where I often took Neen and the children. Agata, the slim, dark-haired proprietor, acknowledged our presence with a smile and a nod, showed us to our table, took our order, and returned promptly with coffee, brandies, and a plate of biscotti. Finding himself in more pleasant atmosphere from prying eyes, Abati appeared to relax. Puffing away on a cigarette and taking a liberal swig of brandy, his anxiety seemed to dissipate even more. He responded to Romano's probing questions, telling us all he knew about Rodriguez, including his address. But we already know this man's address, I said. When we got to the house, Rodriguez had disappeared. Do you have any idea who may be hiding him? Abati shook his head. Emilio Rodriguez is a dangerous man, with powerful friends and contacts all over Italy, although I guess a few would be prepared to hide him. Emilio has quite a reputation. He destroys the lives of enemies and anyone who dares to cross him. He spoke of someone called Bob or Robert on more than one occasion. I believe he has connections with Lombardi and has something to do with horses. But other than that, Emilio could be holed up anywhere. B12 coming in on top. Oh yes, an actual race. 60 seconds on the clock. Good luck, racers. My ears pricked up at the mention of Bob. When Rodriguez spoke to this Bob or Robert, did he ever mention the kidnapping of a boy or a ransom demand? No, sir, nothing like that. Although he loved to boast, I wasn't privy to the man's darkest secrets, and while he mingles with some cutthroat characters, I've never known Emilio to become involved in child abduction. I think that would be a step too far even for him. What makes you say that? Because he lost his only child in a gangland shooting 2 years ago, after the carriage Emilio and his family traveled in was ambushed by a rival gang. Emilio escaped with his life, just a few cuts and bruises and a flesh wound. But tragically, his wife Werner and their daughter Matilda were killed instantly in the spray of bullets and carnage. The girl was barely 8 years old,
So if you're looking for a kidnapper, I doubt Emilio is your man. I leaned forward in my seat, staring at Abati curiously. But that's not the only reason you think that. What else are you withholding from me and the inspector? One of Emilio's cronies confided in me that Rodriguez had experienced a great deal of trauma in his childhood years. During this time, at the orphanages, he was shunted from one foster home to another. The people who took him in were only interested in the money. He was repeatedly beaten, violated, and mistreated by the people entrusted to take care of him. Sadly, while Emilio's story is not uncommon, it's yet another reason why I'm convinced he would never intentionally set out to hurt a child. Thank you for sharing. Do you think it possible Rodriguez and his cronies are assisting the kidnappers in any way? Abati shrugged. I don't know what to say, Signor Sapori. Yes or no would be helpful. I suppose it depends if they're being paid enough. There would have to be something in it for them. How much is the ransom? 12,000 lira. Abati whistled. So no small change then. If I were you, I would check in the Lombardy region for someone who owns land and keeps horses. It's possible that Bob or Robert could be hiding Emilio and have a connection to the kidnapping. I'm sorry, I can't be of further help. Did Rodriguez ever speak of anyone called Jack or Stapleton? Did those names ever crop up in conversation? No, sir. I don't recall either of those names being mentioned. When did you last see Rodriguez? 2 nights ago, at the Black Cat Inn. Emilio told me the courier would call to collect the packages at 8 p.m. this evening. He said they had better be ready, or it would be the worse for me. I panicked when my secretary told me that an Inspector Romano demanded I meet him that morning. My first thought was to remove the packages before the polizia arrived. I had no idea the house was already under surveillance. Abati reverted his gaze to Romano. What will happen this evening when the courier arrives and discovers I'm not at the house to meet him as arranged? My men will be there to greet the courier and subsequently arrest him. But quite frankly, that's the least of your concerns right now, Romano said. Abati stared at the inspector questioningly. You promised to tell us everything, I said, leaning forward in my seat, staring the agent straight in the eye. But like I already said, I'm happy to tell you everything, Signor Sapori. Then, in that case, you must tell the inspector and me what happened on the day Rosetta and her husband, Luis Bandiero, were discovered dead. I believe you're ultimately responsible for their demise, even unintentionally. Oh, Abati. It's not a good day for him. But then again, it's been a bad few days for him, I imagine. Well done, B12. 'Twas only you and I. Another lap race. Exclamation point, play to play. Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. That's okay. This puzzle's giving me a run for my money. Yeah, but you got the border and you got the door. Granted, that's a lot of green. Yep. That is a lot of green. You need aspirin, getting headache? Oh no. I'm so sorry. I hope your head feels better. Aspirin, Tylenol. What's the other one? I can't think of it now. But yes, if you have some of that, please. Excedrin, thank you. Take one of each. No, don't do that. Not ibuprofen, that's for swelling, unless you feel like your head is literally swelling. Okay. Gosh, this tea is so darn good, and I'm already almost like over halfway. It is magic. Okay. Chapter 29 starts on page 174. We're getting to that point in the book now where the pages in my left hand are starting to feel slightly thicker than the pages in my right. Oh no. It's trash night. Oh no, quick! Get those bins out to the curb. Stat! Chapter 29 is from Sherlock Holmes' perspective. Un peso remoso. A weight removed. I just assume that any R letter is rolled in when you're speaking Italian. Probably quite wrong, but it just feels right. Remoso. Anyway, page 174. Abati removed his glasses and laid one hand over his eyes. He began to cry, a tsunami of shoulder-shaking sobs. You must believe when I tell you, Signor Sapori, that it was all a terrible accident. Tell us what happened. I got to the house early that morning to explain to Rosetta and Luis why the agency was serving them notice. Luis let me in, and while Rosetta was in the kitchen making coffee, I followed Luis upstairs to inspect the windows. Luis was intoxicated. I could smell liquor on his breath, and he ranted and raved in a drunken rage, saying he suspected Rosetta was about to leave him, but he couldn't understand why. Then he boasted about his sexual prowess, joking that a man like me would never be able to satisfy a vigorous, beautiful woman like Rosetta, taunting me about my sexuality. So, I pulled out the eviction notice, thinking that would wipe the smirk off his face. Luis saw red. He said everyone was against him and slung out his arm to hit me. I grabbed him and pushed him, accidentally knocking Luis to the floor. He fell backwards, hitting his head hard on the flyer-paste iron guard with such force that he was rendered unconscious. There was blood everywhere. I tried to stop the flow, but the bleeding just wouldn't stop. Luis died very quickly. And then, hearing the altercation, Rosetta ran up the stairs. When she entered the room, she looked horrified at seeing her dead husband lying on the floor and my hands dripping blood. She let out a terrifying scream and flew at me like a madwoman. She started beating at my chest with her bare hands. I tried to explain what happened and that it had been a terrible accident. But Rosetta was distraught and unbelieving of my story. Then she began laughing hysterically, saying I had done her a favor. She was now free to be with her lover, but she would see me arrested first. She said she knew about my shady operations with Rodriguez and was going to neighbors to summon the polizia. She turned on her heels and headed towards the door. Abati hesitated momentarily, taking a sip from his cup, tears streaming down his face. I know this must be difficult, but you must tell us what happened next. Abati nodded, taking a breath and then sipping brandy before continuing his narrative. I ran after Rosetta, cutting her off at the door and blocking the entrance. Looking around desperately, Rosetta grabbed the poker from the hearth and ran forward, aiming to strike me. And did she? No, Signor Sapori. Somehow I managed to evade Rosetta's clumsy blow, and I'm ashamed to say that I grabbed her by the throat. The more Rosetta struggled, the tighter I squeezed. I had to stop her somehow. I knew I'd be finished if the polizia were alerted. So, with your large, powerful hands around the throat of this defenseless woman, what happened next? I wouldn't say she was defenseless. Have you ever been hit with an iron poker? I haven't, but they're made of iron. That should tell you enough. Rosetta began to choke. She tried to push my hands away. For a petite woman, she was powerful. But finally, her body became limp. I realized then that I'd gotten too far. I was horrified by my actions. I attempted to wake Rosetta. I tried everything, slapping and pouring cold water over her face. Then I realized it was too late. And because of my actions, that beautiful, vibrant girl was dead. You strangled her, restricting airflow to the trachea, resulting in cerebral ischemia. Death was caused by impaired blood flow to the brain. I'm so sorry. But why did you suspect it was me? The rings you wear on both hands give you away. The marks found on Rosetta Bandiero's face and neck were consistent with a sharp object, likely made by the shank of a ring. Signora Bandiero's husband and lover were not known to wear rings, so it could only have been you with the means and opportunity to carry out the crime. And then, of course, you decided to frame Santoro to cover your tracks. I have a fair idea of what transpired next, but please, for my curiosity and the Polizia record, tell us what happened in your own words. Abadi shot me a woeful gaze, shaking his head. Yes, I am ashamed to say you are correct, Signor Sapori. I expected Dominzia to arrive for the inspection, so I waited for him. I prepared myself and hid in the second bedroom. I left the back door on the latch when Dominzia finally arrived and banged on the door. I knew it was only a matter of time before he would enter the house and come upstairs. When I heard footsteps approaching the landing, I waited until Dominzia opened the bedroom door. Then I hit him with the poker on the back of the head, and he fell to the floor. I went over, praying I hadn't killed him. Mercifully, he was still breathing, but down for the count. I realized it was only a matter of time before he regained consciousness. B12 seems determined to win the Grand Prix. And apparently I've completed a challenge. Fantastic. Well, you've got one more race ahead of you, and who knows what else. 60 seconds on the clock. So, you decided to set him up as a scapegoat. Oh, crap. Totally forgot to look at ads, and we are not done with the chapter, so I'm gonna pause my reading and start them so that we can keep going after. Bugger me. Let's see, while that's happening, B12, I don't see a message from you in Discord. So I've already forgotten what it was you wanted me to do. Oh wait, it was send a clip, right? You want me to send a clip of Batman. Right. I wonder if I can find that while stuff and things are happening. Oh, bugger. I guess it would help if I look through the file section first before trying to give it to you. Let's see, clips. Wait for it.
Batman. Gotham is never safe without me.
Well, hey, I found it. Was that the one? I don't know if you could hear it. It was kind of quiet. I'm assuming that was the clip. I have to upload it to Google Drive. It won't let me send it to you in DM. It's too large of a file. It's not that big of a clip, though. But at least I know which one it is now. Okay. Ads are over. Welcome back. And continuing with the story. So, you decided to set him up as a scapegoat. Everyone in the village was aware of Dominzia and Rosetta's affair, so I saw it as an ideal opportunity to set the deaths up as a love triangle gone wrong. Ah, how convenient. Triangle amour qui mal tourne. It's been a while since I investigated one of those. I must say, Abati, for an accident gone wrong, you went to a lot of trouble in covering your tracks. Pray to tell what occurred next. Well, using the poker, I smeared Domintia's hands and clothes with Luis's still-warm blood, spreading it over Rosetta's face and neck, before cleaning myself and wiping away fingerprints from the areas I touched. Then, I washed the blood-smeared poker, replacing it on the fireplace stand before leaving the house. I remembered the eviction notice, so I returned and posted it through the letterbox. Oh, I finally won a race. How about that? Yay me. Abati glanced up at me with tear-filled eyes. Oh yeah, this is one of those not races, or not lap races. So this should be interesting. 60 seconds on the clock. Get your balls inside. Thanks. Good luck. I bitterly regret the heartache I caused the families of the deceased and my framing of Dominzia. All that sorrow and devastation, the result of a tragic accident. What happened to Luis Bandiero may have been a tragic accident, but one that could have been avoided if you had only walked away from the altercation. Although we only have your word for that, Abati. However, what you did to Rosetta Bandiero was murder. I accept that you probably didn't mean to kill either of the Bandieros. So, with a good lawyer, you may get off with the lesser manslaughter charge, citing mitigating circumstances. As for the framing of Santora, that will be entirely up to the judge to decide. But let me tell you that your actions attempting to frame an innocent man are likely to have serious consequences. Inspector Romano assures me that you will have access to the best defense lawyer available should you continue to assist with our inquiries. But there is one more thing. Where did you go after you left the house? Completely not watching a race in progress. There we go. I let myself out of the back door, and then, using the back roads, I made my way to one of my local hostelries, where I spent the rest of the afternoon and evening with two of my gentleman friends who owed me a favor, and who I was sure would provide me with an alibi, which was, of course, not needed in the end. The Polizia issued a warrant for Dominzia's arrest. When I'd heard he'd fled the scene, I was elated. Well, why wouldn't you be? Romano asked. You were well and truly off the hook with Santora in the frame. It was fortunate for you when Polizia finally caught up with him. He had no recollection of who hit him. What he did reveal, however, is that he was meant to meet you at the property, but that you failed to show. Abati sighed. Inspector Signor Sapori, I knew in my heart that this day would eventually arrive. Still, you have been very clever, drawing me into your confidence to reveal everything I know, while at the same time concealing that you already held me responsible for the deaths of Rosetta and Luis. But now you've caught me red-handed. So rest assured I will continue to assist with your inquiries, especially if it means a lesser sentence. These other races are super short. Abati banged his cup on the table, shooting us a sideways glance. Then so be it. To hell with Emilio and his cronies. I will tell you everything I know. For example, this is the next race, and that there are 60 seconds on the clock to enter it. I must say, Abati, that I'm staggered by how you managed to maintain the deception, fooling your employers and the owners of the property for such a long time, by fabricating the howling dog you named Caesar, who you trained to respond to a distinct whistle, rattling chains, fabricating ghosts, creating discord and gossip amongst the neighbors. You knew that by instilling the fear of God into those people, everyone would steer well clear of the place. You did all this to stop people from becoming curious about the house. But of course, you had a vested interest in doing so, not only as a cover for your illegal profanities, your den of reprobates, but also to conceal the fact you had committed the murders. Abadi sat quietly, his chin on his hand, his other arm folded. Throughout the conversation, I stared at Abati, intently observing his every move. Based on his overall demeanor and body language, I was satisfied that he spoke the truth about the murders and Nico's kidnapping. Thank you. The inspector and I appreciate your honesty. Tell us how your friend Rodriguez got hold of the vaccine. Abati blinked hard, shifting in his seat. Emilio spoke of a contact in Berlin, a chemist named Gustav Baumann, who owed him a favor. He boasted that the chemist agreed to supply him with a vast amount of the vaccine in return for Emilio's releasing the hold he had on Baumann and his family, along with the cash sum for each batch supplied. And who are the buyers, the recipients of the vaccine? Emilio told me he could offload the entire batch to an organization of medical professionals in Moscow to sell to selected clients at a greatly inflated price. Such was the need and desperation to garner protection against the deadly disease. These are despicable people, responsible for trading in people's fear, misery, and desperation. Romano nodded in agreement. Yes, indeed, their intent is crystal clear, and they must be stopped at all costs. After we finished our drinks, Romano and his driver dropped me off at the villa before proceeding with Abati on their journey to the station. There he would be charged, processed, and offered legal representation. He would remain in custody until the preliminary court hearing, at which point he would be entitled to apply for conditional bail. However, as I had advised the man earlier, at least until Rodriguez was apprehended, he would likely be far safer in jail than walking the streets of Milan. I arranged to meet Romano the following morning at the villa to discuss our findings, aware that we were one step closer to cracking the code my clever son revealed in the book. And that concludes chapter 29. Oh God, that was weird. Oh, Abati, what a mess you're in. That's okay. You'll be able to clear it up in jail, assuming you survive. It is quite likely he will have his life removed while in jail. Okay. Give me 1 second. Just need to double check something. Oh, okay. Never mind. All good. All right. How's everybody doing? I, for one, am exhausted. I am so tired. I don't know what it is about today, but it's just kicked my butt. Today was one of those days where when I woke up, I could have just stayed there forever. Forever. But no, I had to get up. Had to go to work. Had to be an adult. Why was my barbell on fire? That was weird. Anyway. Right. Let's see. Chapter 30. Starts on page 180. And I forget. $316, I think. Yeah, with the epilogue. So that means we've got about 134-ish pages, 136 pages, sorry. Dang. Aspirin done, weeds gone, 2 loads of rock gone. Let me get this straight. You had a big headache and then decided to pull some weeds and move some rock around. Am I understanding that correctly? Look who's shaking their head now. ADHD, ADHD. It's okay, I can't sit still half the time either. B12, you're kicking butt on the puzzle. Come on, Clip. Where are you at? There it is. Oh, bugger.
Please, please, please. Let's go. Please.
Thanks, you're committed. Excellent. Well, and I'm winning all the races over here because it's just me. Although, why does my ball keep setting itself on fire? Am I just that fast? Are my balls just that hot? My God. My balls are on fire. Nuh-uh. Yeah. Oh, it's a non-lap race. 11 of 16. All right. Judging by the length of chapter 30, this will likely be our last chapter for the night because it looks like a longer one. Which probably means we've got some good meaty substance going on in here. Chapter 30 is from Neen Adler's perspective, Irene Adler. Tobias di Lombardia. Tobias of Lombardy. Page 180. Good luck on the race, and good luck to me as well. 4, 3, 1. Ticka-ding, 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 ding, ding, ticka-ding, 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 ding, ding. Okay, I'm kidding. Moving on. When the postman arrived the following morning, I was disappointed to find no word from the abductors. There were only 2 bills, a telegram for Sherlock and a letter from Violetta, who, at my husband's insistence, remained blissfully unaware of the turmoil threatening our family. I entered the morning room door to find my husband sitting at the breakfast table with a cup of coffee, making notes in a commonplace book with a fountain pen, seemingly engrossed in his work. However, I could sense the rumblings of vexation and discontent, a far cry from my husband's congenial demeanor the day before. He looked up, frowning at my approach. "Good morning, Sherlock. Did you hear that sound?" "What sound?" He stared, staring at me perplexed. "I didn't hear anything." "Ah, now I've got your attention. Why, my love, that's you executing the silent treatment. Over the years, I have become used to its startling sound." "Very droll, Nin, but as you can see, I'm in no mood for banter." "I know you expect Salvatore later this morning, but have you had breakfast?" "I'm not hungry. I have no time for food." He returned in a somewhat peevish tone, his sallow face very much agitated and now masked in anger. "But, darling, you should have something to keep up your strength. How about some toast?" "I've just told you that I don't want anything." My husband snapped irritably, staring at me with disdain. "Let that be the end of the matter." "All right," I conceded, making my way towards the door. "I'll let you know when Salvatore arrives. Will you receive him in the study?" Sherlock nodded. "Please remind the domestic servants that we are not to be disturbed." "I will, although Alice might be keeping a wide berth. I heard her confiding to Hildegard that you were rude to her this morning. She was discovered crying in the kitchen earlier." Sherlock looked to me aghast. "Rude?" he exclaimed. "Our son is missing, and you accuse me of being rude. Anyway, the woman dared to talk back to me after I challenged her over a trivial matter." "Mama House Gaming! Woo!" "Well, your demeanor is not helping, Sherlock. I don't think you realize how disparaging your caustic remarks can be at times. You know Alice is a sensitive soul who wouldn't say boo to a goose, yet you made her feel uncomfortable." "Yeah, Sherlock." 60 seconds on the clock. "It's not my job to make people feel comfortable," he answered, his eyes narrowed and his lips thinned. "I'm sorry that my present mood isn't suiting everyone in this household, and breakfast isn't my priority right now. But I, for one, have far more pressing things to deal with than pandering to the whims of hired help. What about you, Nin? Daring to the whims of... who would you have me be today? Sherlock, the loving husband and father, or Holmes, the calculating machine? Please let me know when you have decided, and if you have any better ideas on finding our son, I'm all ears." I mean, dude's under some pressure, okay? Stop Mama's mama. Not just any Stump Mama's mama. Right now, it's the birthday Stump Mama's mama. Do I still have this? No. Damn it. I thought I did. Well, I'm going to have to do something about that, aren't I? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stepmom's mama. Happy birthday to you. This is your birthday song. Now it's not very long. Just returned home from dinner with the fam. Lovely. I hope it was amazing. I really do. And welcome in. I am honored to have you join me on your birthday. I'm sure there are at least 2 other things you could be doing right now. At least 2. Maybe even 3. Just saying. Well, welcome. I'm glad you had a good time. I felt a tight knot in the pit of my stomach as I glared at my husband in disbelief. Could you be any more obnoxious? I expounded. Sherlock shook his head in exasperation, giving me a withering look that was swiftly returned. Then, without uttering another word, he rose from his chair and picked up the book before quickly leaving the room to retire to his study. You're perfect for a relaxation after a meal and cocktail? Excellent. I haven't had a good cocktail in a while. I could go for one, you know? I heaved a sigh as he slammed the door behind him. Sherlock's petulant words cut like a dagger. It gave me an ache in my heart to be on the receiving end of my husband's acerbic. I always forget how to say that one. Tongue. You had a strong lemon drop? Lovely. Fubar! What's up? But I could sense his frustration. The hours and days were ticking by, and Nico's abductors were still eluding us, albeit we were hopefully one step closer to finding them. It had been a while since I'd witnessed Sherlock in such a contentious mood. I knew he would never dream of speaking to me in such a manner under normal circumstances. Still, our circumstances were anything but ordinary. So I decided to put my frustrations aside and find Alice in the kitchen to apologize for my husband's unpleasant behavior. Salvatore arrived at 11 a.m. I kissed him on the cheek as he hugged me, holding me in a warm, friendly embrace. For a brief moment, our faces were so close that our lips would inadvertently brush in any sudden movement was made. Sherlock and I hadn't shared a bed since Nico was abducted. Salvatore's simple gesture was a physical connection I had been starved of recently, and it was overwhelming. It reminded me of how I missed my husband's embrace. I missed everything. The way he held me, his athletic body pressed close to mine, and I even missed the brutal wit I had experienced earlier. I had to wipe a tear from my eye as I escorted Salvatore, who favored me with a kindly but quizzical smile, to Sherlock's study. I shall organize some coffee. Good luck, I said, furrowing my brow as Salvatore knocked on the door. Come, Sherlock's dulcet tones echoed. When I returned a few minutes later with a tray of coffee, milk, sugar, and biscotti, Sherlock took the tray from me and set it on the occasional table in the corner of the room. I dutifully poured the coffee, adding milk and sugar before handing the cups to the men. Sherlock smiled at me, pointing to the whiteboards on the study walls. I would like you to stay, Neen. Romano and I would value your input. Please excuse my rudeness earlier. It was just a few words between husband and wife in the heat of the moment. There's no need to apologize. I'm sorry, Sherlock is telling her that she doesn't have to apologize? Why do I get a Sheldon Cooper vibe right now? Good, I retorted, shooting him a killing glance, incensed by his haughty arrogance. Because I'm not offering one. Our petty altercation does not change the fact that our son is still missing, and we're no nearer to finding a solution. Still bristling from our earlier disagreement, I refrained from further disclosure with Sherlock, who looked at me stony-faced. It was on the tip of my tongue to call him a pompous arse, but I had no wish to cause an argument or embarrass my husband in front of Salvatore. Instead, I helped myself to a cup of black coffee. I sat back in my chair, staring at the whiteboards on the wall in utter amazement. Each was covered with maps of Milan and the surrounding areas, primarily regions of Lombardy, marked off in red. At the top of each map, the word whistle, again highlighted in red, was written in large, bold letters. What we are hoping to achieve is to establish the route to where Nico is likely being held captive, Sherlock said, observing my bemused expression. But, Sherlock, there must be hundreds of possible routes. Indeed, Neen, but I hope to reduce the possibilities during the afternoon until the odds become more favorable. Why are you concentrating on the word whistle? Because it's the only anagram of the Hewley Street clue given. Given by Nico. Our son considered it a worthy clue, one not obvious to others. Whistle is a specific word pointing to someone or something highly significant. Sherlock turned his attention to Salvatore. What about you? Anything good, Inspector? Salvatore nodded. My men and I have strategically studied all the road maps in Milan and the surrounding areas, and we can categorically confirm that there is no such address containing Hewley Street or Whistle. Exactly, Sherlock said. So at least we can discount them for our calculations. By observing the street map and his policeman's knowledge of the city, Salvatore suggested several possible locations of interest. After carefully considering each one and further in-depth consultations with Salvatore, my husband decided to concentrate on 4 potential route options in the Lombardy area. As we have already established, Sherlock said, pointing toward the boards, Romano and I believe Operation Whistle is far more notable than the abduction of Nico. Location is the key. If we can only pinpoint where Nico is being held, we can rescue him and flush out the ringleaders of this so-called operation. Sherlock, I protested. I'm sorry, but I don't care what else these people are up to. I just want Nico home. Why don't the abductors simply give us the ransom exchange destination so we can pay the money and get our son back? If only we could speak to them and make them see reason. One cannot negotiate with the enemy, Neen, when they have their hands around your throat. Sherlock paused momentarily. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but don't you see one links to the other? Of course, our main priority is the safe return of our son. As for the ransom demand, the perpetrators appear to be toying with us and playing for time. There seems to be no line these people won't cross. Just like Mama House Gaming crossing the finish line. It is preposterous. I don't know who you think you are, madam. But enough is enough. The game's afoot. 60 seconds on the clock. Good luck to you. I say good luck to you, ma'am. La-ti-da. But why? I asked. I don't know, Neen, but we will find out. I nodded, smiling at my husband as he continued his narrative. First, we must look at the facts we have so far. Which are? I asked, raising an eyebrow. We now have compelling evidence that Jack Stapleton is behind Nico's kidnapping. Somehow he escaped from his watery grave at the Great Grimpen Mire, and over the years, undoubtedly, using a series of aliases, came back to inflict his wrath on the world. First, posing as a Bloodstock agent in Ireland, using the pseudonym Robert Barrett, otherwise known as Bob. He's known to check into various hotels using different disguises, yet carries no luggage and rarely stays overnight. He lives elsewhere in Milan. Someone in this city who could be anyone from a complex list of associates is harboring him. Abati confirmed that Bob is a horseman, who he suspects is living in the Lombardy area, so the person hiding him has a connection with the land and the horse fraternity. Bob regularly corresponded with Hildegard Aiken while he lived in Ireland. However, the address he wrote to her was traced to a cottage in Timoleon County, Kildare. Mycroft inquired with his agents in Ayr, and his registered owner of the property is Mrs. Constance Gallagher, a widow whose husband died a few years ago under mysterious circumstances, and her occupation and current location remain unknown. What else did your brother discover? Sherlock unraveled the lengthy telegram from Mycroft that had arrived earlier. My brother said that after making various inquiries with the assistance of Inspector Lestrade, he discovered Beryl Stapleton passed away several years ago. She's buried at Beauvais Tracy Cemetery in Newton Abbot. Mycroft also identified 5 racing stables in the Kildare area. 4 have been established for over 40 years, while the 5th, in Maddenstown, is run by Jim Sweeney, who took over the license nearly 2 decades ago. He's a man of dubious reputation. After chatting amongst the stable hands on the gallops, the agents discovered that Sweeney employed an assistant trainer, Bob Barrett. The grooms appear to hold this Bob in high regard, championing his impressive skill as the trainer of Olmo, the horse who finished second in the Gran Premio di Milano last year to the remarkable example of equine talent, Keepsake. But, Sherlock, we were there when Keepsake won. Surely you remember we had drinks with the owners in the champagne bar? Sherlock nodded in agreement. Indeed, that's where Stapleton undoubtedly recognized me and formulated his dastardly plan. He had revenge in mind, all right. He had means, motivation, and opportunity, From the footprints at the house and the testimony of the Gierkoska, Stapleton had at least 3 accomplices. The German woman named Connie, who we now know has roots in Ireland. The man with silver hair who drove the second carriage, and Rodriguez, of course. Which begs the question, are these people aware that they're dealing with a dangerously manipulative, narcissistic psychopath? I gasped as my husband's narrative unfurled. Forgive me, but I need to lay the facts before you precisely as they are. Doing otherwise would be a cruel deception. Sherlock said, "It's all right. I understand. You don't have to pussyfoot around me." Indeed, Neen. There is double play here. Behind Stapleton's wicked actions is the concealment of a second act that is even more despicable than the first. The grooms also revealed that Bob and Sweeney had a falling out last year after a deadly virus swept through their stables. Some of Sweeney's best thoroughbreds were sent to the kill pens or destroyed after being infected by 2 fillies sent over from Milan by Ernest Angelino. Overwhelmed with the catastrophic loss and desire for vengeance, I have no doubt Barrett would do what he could to settle the score with Angelino. He also blames Sweeney for ruining the business after accepting the fillies into the stables. The men are no longer on speaking terms. Barrett has not been seen at the stables for some time. Sherlock paused, shifting in his seat. And this is where it gets interesting. When the Garda, accompanied by Mycroft's agents, interviewed Sweeney's veterinary surgeon, Ossian O'Flaherty, they made a shocking discovery. O'Flaherty told them that Barrett blackmailed him into supplying 2 vials of the same deadly toxin that infected Sweeney's horses. And so the plot thickens. But now it's time for a bongo boogie. Bongo boogie, bong bongo boogie. Bongo boogie, bong bongo boogie. Bongo boogie. Exclamation point play to boogie. 60 seconds on the clock. Why must one move their thumb from the screen, from the page, and lose their place? I swear. Furthermore, Barrett intends to inject 2 of Ernest Angelino's top thoroughbreds with the toxin in a wicked act of malice and revenge before the Grand Premio di Milano race meeting on Sunday, where Angelino saddles 2 fancied runners. The Italian colt, Massina, is the likely favorite for the big race. At the same time, Angelino trains the second favorite, Sandura, who I understand is strongly fancied. In addition, the race is about to begin. And here it goes. I've lost my place again. Gosh darn it. Seriously, where is it? In addition, where are you at? Here, in addition. Come on. There you are. In addition, he also saddles the hot favorite Rubicon for the Champagne Stakes. Angelino and his owners have been openly bullish about their horses' chances and have placed a considerable wager to win at 3-1. Such is their confidence in their horse and jockey. Those poor horses. But why would a veterinary surgeon do that? I gasped. They swear an oath to protect animals, not destroy them. Barrett Barrett threatened O'Flaherty's father, Thomas O'Flaherty, a retired doctor who was weak from the ravages of cancer and convalescing in a private nursing home in Kildare. Barrett sent his henchmen around to O'Flaherty's surgery. That was freaking quick. Jeez. Would it just go straight down? And I didn't even finish. It hurts inside. It really does. Exclamation point play. Play to play. They gave him a severe thrashing. It does, doesn't it? It yeets you off the damn edge. Oh, every time. They gave him a severe thrashing as a warning that they meant business. Under duress, Owain O'Flaherty finally agreed to Barrett's demands, but insisted he only did this to protect his father after Barrett and his henchmen's threats. The man had little choice in the matter. Sherlock leaned forward in his chair, his eyes shining like stars. O'Flaherty told the agents that the night before Barrett was due to board the boat to Milan, his father passed away peacefully in his sleep. The doctors confirmed he died of natural causes. He was devastated by his father's death, enraged by the way Barrett and his cronies treated him and his father, blatant disrespect shown to a well-regarded pillar of society. Bitter and resentful, O'Flaherty decided to teach Barrett a lesson he would never forget. So, what did he do? I asked, staring at my husband with a burning curiosity. He switched the vials, so instead of being filled with the deadly toxin, he replaced them with a vitamin solution. Genius. The race is on Sunday. Murphy told Barrett the toxin should be injected 3 days beforehand to have maximum impact. Impact, which would simultaneously infect the rest of the horses in the stables. Sherlock shook his head. I cannot imagine Barrett carrying out the task himself. He'll have minions doing his dirty work for him, carrying out his deadly intentions. Sherlock diverted his gaze to Salvatore. I suggest we visit Angelino today. Please arrange for one of your men to put a watch on the stables, for I fear the culprits will make their move by nightfall. In the meantime, what else do you have, Inspector? Is there anything of interest? Salvatore nodded, opening a file on the table in front of him. Your husband paints a compelling picture, Nin. Here is a list of all the livery and racing stables in Lombardy. I looked at Salvatore's list. I hadn't realized there were so many establishments in Lombardy, ranging from riding schools, show jumping, 3-day event consortiums, and several racing and livery stables. I turned my attention to Sherlock. But why would Stapleton go to all this trouble? Oh dear. I didn't finish again. How bloody rude. But fear not. This is the final race. This is anyone's chance to put a dent in the leader. Or perhaps for the leader themselves to push themselves ahead and guarantee victory. But the question is, who is that leader? Sherlock sighed deeply. In the fog of war, the desire for revenge is powerful, Nin. Stapleton is a narcissist who simply cannot help himself. He's displaying his power and arrogance. After literally getting away with murder in Dartmoor, the brute believes he's invincible. He blames me, of course, holding me accountable for becoming marginalized and outcast from society. But more than that, Stapleton cannot handle the fact that he's become nothing more than a fading legend. His incomplete life has been reduced to a few columns of sensational newsprint, so he's fighting back the only way he knows how. Revenge is his raison d'être, his reason for living. Salvatore interrupted. From my experience, those who seek vengeance invariably risk swallowing a bitter pill. Everything about this man screams sociopath. People like Stapleton can never be reformed. If revenge is the only reason to live, then God have mercy on us all. I scoffed. This monster is a vindictive parasite, feeding off people's misery and pain. Parasite indeed. Sherlock nodded in agreement. I agree wholeheartedly. The man is a meticulous and calculating, despicable character, but one we're closer to finding. I glanced again at Salvatore's list and the map of Lombardy, and then suddenly, like a bolt from the blue, the true meaning of Nico's cryptic message came to me. I took a breath. Sherlock, I think our son may be closer than we think. My husband smiled at me curiously. Whatever do you mean? I've been racking my brains about Nico's second clue. I couldn't understand why he mentioned this person called Toby, and that's because Toby isn't a person. Please clarify. Do you remember me telling you in my letters about my friend, Claudia Fermagali? Fermagali. Yes, vaguely, but you told me your friend moved away. Yes, I agreed. Neither I nor the children have seen Claudia for over 2 years. Still, we spent some wonderful afternoons together. We often took the children horse riding to a livery stable in Lombardy, where Claudia kept 2 horses, including an Aldalasian dapple grey pony. The children could ride at the establishment if an instructor supervised them. Fortunately, amongst her other fine skills, Claudia is a qualified equestrian riding coach. Sherlock stared at me with a puzzled expression and shrugged. Undine, I fail to understand the point you are making. I just remembered the dapple grey pony Charlotte often rode and took such a shine. It was named Tobias. Sherlock's penetrating eyes fixated on me, staring at me keenly. Can you remember the name of the establishment? Words are hard. Yes, they are. Blast it all. I shook my head. No, I'm sorry, I simply can't remember. And unfortunately, I can't ask Claudia. She's away holidaying in Budapest until the end of the month. She told me she would be staying with friends, but didn't reveal the address. How did you and your friend get to the stables? Claudia would collect me and the children in a brougham, appearing like clockwork every second Sunday, just after luncheon. We chatted along the way, catching up with our news, so I'm afraid I didn't pay much attention to our direction. It was over 2 years ago, but I kept a photograph Claudia took of the children. If my memory serves me right, The picture is in a drawer in the morning room. If you give me a few minutes, I can find the photograph. I fixed my eyes on my husband. While searching for the picture, I shall ask Genevera and Alice to organize a cold platter. I am not taking no for an answer, Sherlock. I gestured to Salvatore. We cannot allow our guests to starve. Katerina would never forgive us if we all allowed that to happen. Sherlock smiled pensively, nodding in resignation. I slipped out of the study, leaving my bemused husband and Salvatore to talk amongst themselves. I called into the kitchen to ask Alice to organize a luncheon before entering the morning room, rummaging through the chest of drawers until I found the photograph album containing numerous pictures of the children. Disappointment washed over me as I turned the pages, desperately searching for the image. And then I found the Kodak snapshot I was looking for at the back of the album, stuck between 2 pages. I stared at it for a moment, my heart beating wildly in my chest before I placed the photo in my dress pocket and returned to the study. Salvatore was devouring a platter of cold meats. Antipasti, olives, cheese, and bread. Sherlock reluctantly nibbled on a piece of bread and cheese to keep the peace. Look, I could be speaking out of turn, but I think I might have discovered the location of where Nico's being kept hostage, I said excitedly. I carefully placed the photo of Nico and Charlotte celebrating a precious moment in their lives on the desk before Sherlock and Salvatore. The photograph showed the children sitting astride 2 horses, Nico on a black mare named Beauty, while Charlotte sat beaming from ear to ear on her favorite dapple gray pony. I pointed to the picture. Gentlemen, let me introduce you to this cheeky little chappie. His official title is Tobias de Lombardia, although he was always affectionately known to Charlotte as Toby. I smiled at Sherlock. Ah, so this is the infamous Uncle Toby, he said, picking up the photograph and studying it closely before turning it over. On the reverse, Claudia had written the dates and place the picture was taken in black ink. 1st June 1904, San Siro Scuderia di Cavalier Livery Stables. Right, Salvatore said, picking up his pen. Then we shall give the establishment priority and add it to the list. It's located in one of our designated areas. I pray it's not a red herring, but I have a good feeling about Nico and the photograph, I said, staring expectantly at the men. Anything at this stage is worth checking, Salvatore said. This could be the smoking gun we've been looking for. I will order my men to put the stables under surveillance, discreetly, of course, so as not to alert undue suspicion. The welfare of your son is our main priority. My husband looked at me with a wiry smile. If our son is not being kept at those stables, then Miko must have recognized something familiar, such as scenery, a building, or landmark. Perhaps some childhood memory was triggered when the abductors moved him. It would appear that our remarkable son has done it again. I smiled appreciatively at my husband. So, what happens now? Why, my darling, first Salvatore and I will visit Angelino while Romano's men discreetly check out the stables near San Sior. But we must be careful. We don't want to go in all willy-nilly to alert undue suspicion and do anything that may put our son at risk. And when will you do this? Sherlock rose to his feet before diverting his gaze to Salvatore. There's no time like the present, Are you game, Inspector? Salvatore nodded, putting on his hat and coat. I stared at Sherlock anxiously. Please be careful. God knows what the two of you could face. Sherlock took me by the shoulders, staring intensely into my eyes. Try not to worry. We will both be armed. In the meantime, I need you to stay here where it's safe, and in case there's any word from Mycroft or the kidnappers, Romano and I will bring Nico home, where he belongs. Do you promise? I asked, staring wide-eyed at my husband. How could I not? He whispered. We will get this animal, Salvatore said, doffing his cap and squeezing my arm reassuringly before leaving the villa with Sherlock. Yeah. And I'm gonna snooze the ads, because that was good timing. Oh boy. Here's the thing, though. We've still got, like, 100 or so pages left. So it would have been very easy to be like, yep, that's the one. There he is. We got him, boys. Obviously, that's not how it's going to play out. But boy, am I curious. All right, let's see who actually climbed the podium of our set of races. Mixed races, that is. I am in third place, and rightfully so. Third or worse, I say. Second place is the real B12. Good job, B12. So that can only mean one thing. I think Mama House Gaming came in first. There she is. Mama House Gaming, well done. I appreciate you all. It's because of you I am here now. Thank you. Speech, speech, speech. I couldn't have done it without you. I've always joked that I would, if I ever had to do an acceptance speech, that I would start it out by saying, I just want to thank my mom and dad for having me. Because that's funny. Let's see, 185 points, B12 with 156, myself with 142. That's a good one, thank you. I could make it like a sad kind of funny and be like, I want to thank my mom and dad for having me. I don't know where they are, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Good night. Good night, Katie. Sleep well. Looking forward to getting back to your book on Sunday. A game changer has just occurred. And just like in the movies, or a TV show, I should say. We gotta pause it right there as a cliffhanger. But let's see who's online, shall we? There's gotta be someone we can raid. Surely. Surely there's gotta be somebody on, you know? Who could it be? I'm not sure. Let me take a look. Searching, scanning. First, we're going to stop this music. It's a bit too calming now. The book's over. No need for that. Thank you. Let me see. I just had someone in mind. Ah, yes.
Optimism isn't.
We're gonna go see my friend Paige. She's a lovely lady. Can you keep the puzzle while I finish it? Well, yeah, of course. The puzzle doesn't get shut down. In fact, the link stays active until I change it again. So that link will be there until like Sunday. So knock yourself out. But thank you so much for being here tonight, guys and gals. I really appreciate it. And thank you as well for the resub. Thanks for the races. I loved it. On Thursday, we're going to be live with Helldivers. For sure, Stunt Papa and Super SB. I don't know if we'll have Redthorn or not. I'm going to ask him. If Redthorn can't do it, I will find somebody else. But anyway, let me get this raid going because I just realized I hadn't done that. All I did was do the raid message. All right, raid's up. Enjoy the rest of the puzzle. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to this cool story. Yeah, 4:30 Central on Thursday. So that's 2:30 Pacific, 3:30 Mountain, 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. Got all the zones covered. Love to see you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your nights and an amazing Wednesday. Please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a wonderful night.